Welcome back, everyone, to Open Line. We are talking about Wall Street investment firms buying up single-family homes in Nashville and really all across Middle Tennessee. They're turning it into rental property. What impact does that have on affordable housing, housing prices in general? We have with us Dr. Ken Chilton, Associate Professor, Department of Public Administration at TSU, who has followed this. And let's go to the phones. Let's go to Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
From the men from California who teach you how to make money flipping real estate, but I've never signed up because friends have told me the real estate market in Nashville is bad. All these Wall Street companies taking advantage of low property values to buy out the homeowners and then turn them into rentals for people who just don't make enough to do that down payment on a home.
Right, right. That's exactly, I mean, I think you...
And that's the issue of when you have to come up with a security deposit of $2,000 or $2,500. You're already recovering from the financial crash that occurred, and then you have to pay $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 in rent. How do you save up for that down payment in the future? So you're almost creating a permanent rentership society, which is the opposite of how the American dream is supposedly about, that we can own a home and end up accumulating equity, so when we retire, we have a nest egg. And yeah, that's all at threat.
So some people would say that after the housing crisis, the housing decline, people just decided, I don't want to own my house anymore. It's not, I don't want to be caught with the housing price going down. I don't want to deal with repairs. It's just easier for me not to own a house. And so home ownership rates are down. Part of it is people can't afford a house. Part of it is people don't want a house. But what do you think about that?
I disagree. I think most people would rather own a home as opposed to renting a home. I know there's uncertainty, I know that, but a lot of the trade magazines and a lot of the annual reports of these organizations talk like millennials aren't interested as much in home ownership. I tend to believe that if we could do a survey of those people who live in those homes in Nashville, they would prefer to own as opposed to rent. But again, qualifying for the loan, job insecurity, those types of things are major issues. And it also gets just to the issue of affordable housing in Nashville in general. We know that we're already 30 to 35,000 units below where we need to be to meet the demand for affordable housing. In as much as these companies take properties off the market that's in that first-time home buyers, middle-income niche, teachers, police officers, those types of construction workers, it creates new barriers to home ownership that weren't there in the past. So I think some people might say, yeah, I'd just rather rent. But in reality, I think most people would rather accumulate equity than otherwise.
Let's go to David. Hello, David. Are you there, David?
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay, let nobody deceive you. Listen and listen carefully. Your arms of government, your arms of metro government have let you down over the past years. The Metro Council, the mayors, and the Metro Department. They went and they formulated, accepted, crafted, approved some of the rules and regs that favored all these evil things that make it possible for these evil things to happen in the real estate market.
Okay.
And they are not knowledgeable. They don't even research what they are doing. They are not technically, knowledgeable to even know what will happen, in the near future.
All right, well, let's talk about that. I think I get what you're saying. He's saying Metro Council allowed this, that they put rules and regulations, that's what he said, they put rules and regulations in place. They certainly didn't stop it. Metro Council, our lawmakers in general have allowed this to happen. What do you say to that?
I'm sensitive to what he's saying in the sense that they approved the zonings and such. Yeah, but I mean, cities do that. You want growth. You want to create workforce housing. I don't think council members appreciated the coming housing crash of 2008, 2009. But now that it's happened, and there weren't people talking in 2005 and 2006, there wasn't a single-family rental real estate investment trust of global capital that's investing and turning housing and community into a commodity. We didn't anticipate that. People in Akron, Ohio, which is not experiencing growth, didn't appreciate that. But because they're not experiencing growth, it hasn't attracted those types of investors. So I don't think it's really, I see where he's coming from. I don't want to be critical, but this is something that people didn't foresee, and unfortunately there are no, that I'm aware of, legal remedies in our system of property rights that can step in and do anything about it.
When you look at the quarterly reports for some of these companies, so we have, again, these are Wall Street sort of investment firms, companies. They report what's going on. They report their profits. They report, I guess, their hopes. What do you see? What stands out to you when you look at these quarterly reports?
They're targeting young families. I think their median renters are between the ages of 30 and 40, married with kids, who want to live in a suburban environment with quote-unquote good schools, and that's a big part of their business models. So that's why they're buying in Murfreesboro. That's why they're buying in suburban locations, not buying in the inner city, not buying the older properties. The housing units oftentimes are 12 to 15 years old, so they don't have the 20 or 30 years worth of rehab that needs to be done. So they're relatively in decent shape, and they're taking it in focusing on the growing metro. There's a lot of people who are moving here for jobs. They might live in this type of housing for 3 or 4 years before transitioning into ownership. So this is a custom-made market for those types of companies. And from what I've seen from reading their annual reports, they foresee this for the next 6 to 8 years to be a very strong market. So it's going to continue. I don't think it will continue at the pace that it did around 2013 to 15, but real estate investors from outside this city are going to be buying up housing here.
And they also say, don't they, that renters themselves, the tenants, will have to get used to a new reality in the sense of fees that are done differently and become a major revenue stream for these companies. And rents will go up systematically. It's a business somewhat model. Impersonal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you're renting from a mom and pop, they've got to call you up and say, well, rent's going up, and that's not easy. And now it's you get a notification. That's the way it is. Boom.
Yes.
And they're pretty significant.
And yeah, they can be $200–300 per year change. And I've read online that there are ways to appeal them, and some people have successfully done that or try to get them reduced. But yeah, they are very high tech in terms of what they do. If you want to rent one of these houses, you don't need an agent to show you. You get a temporary code, you go, you walk around. When you decide, yes, I want to lock this in, you get the electronic lease, you do all the paperwork. It goes to California or Texas or wherever their headquarters is. And that's how business is done. Same way with paying your rent. If you're a minute late, if it's 12:01, late fee. And it is one of the things you notice when looking at their annual reports, at least for some of them over the past 2 or 3 years, a really big surge in the fee income. And that's part of the business model, again, of maximizing profit in these markets where you're an absentee landlord.
Let's go to Lucy. Hello, Lucy. Lucy, hello.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Hey, Professor, thanks for coming back on. I've seen you on here before. Well, you said, Professor, we didn't see this coming. Yes, we did. This is what the movie It's a Wonderful Life was about. This is what the song Pink Houses in the 50s was about. This is where TIF financing reared its ugly little head out of. This is all Wall Street based. These corporations have protections now because the Supreme Court gives them more civil rights than we do, and they lawyer up on us as an opposing citizen, and we're going to lose as a little guy. I just think that I heard this first when they were pushing this as an investment product back in '99. I overheard a conference call with my broker out there waiting for my appointment to go in, and they were pushing RITs hardcore then. And then I saw Bill Moyers talk about them within the next year or two. And if you want to do a study, go over to Long Boulevard off of West End in Nashville, because that was one of the first areas that we redistricted and rezoned here in Nashville. And the people over there in that district fought this hard and fast, but they redistricted and watered down the city council where nobody was behind them. So there is a history before this, and I really think this was the whole idea behind the whole derivatives market, was to throw all these bad loans out there, crash them in a cycle, come in, buy cheap, like you just said, and then sell them some more adjustable rate mortgages. 10 years later, come in, get the ones that had bought, and then eventually you're the king of all real estate, and you are Mr. Potter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, research that neighborhood along Boulevard. There's a long record where they went to City Hall trying to fight this, and they bulldozed every house on that street and terrorized. Some people were terrorized, these old people over there trying to fight this. I'll hang up and listen to what you got to say, Professor.
All right, thank you. What do you think there?
Well, I think that there has been if you look at the history of consolidation, we saw it in the banking industry. Banking used to be a local thing. You had local banks because they were restricted in their lending areas and such, and then we started to have deregulation and a concentration of banking as people could now buy up local banks, or large banks could. So I guess in that sense, I could have, or others might have seen kind of this consolidation of out-of-town money buying up smaller town things. Now, I'm unaware of the situation that she referenced over in the West End,
right?
But I will try to look that up. But in terms of these companies monetizing what had been happening in the apartment industry, I suppose some savvy people may have seen that specifically coming. I'm not that savvy.
Mm-hmm. and again, as we said in that story, but this is not just Nashville.
No.
In fact, there are other cities that have it much bigger.
Oh, Florida, Sunbelt cities, Phoenix, Vegas. Charlotte, as I said, has over 10,000 that I'm aware of in terms of that. And it's growing here as well, and I think eventually we'll probably catch up to Charlotte.
Wow. All right, take a break. James, hold on the line. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.